It's been over a year. It's been very quiet since my next guest walked off Good Morning Britain following a heated row over Meghan Markle, of all people. Next week, Piers is back with a brand new TV show, and he joins me now.
Guess who's back?
He's walking in.
I'm storming back in. I'm storming back in.
How
are you?
I'm good.
Don't get up.
Sit down.
You actually weren't getting up. That's right.
Well, Piers Morgan, you're the kind of person, I think, that would fall into the River Clyde, as my dad used to say, come out not only bone dry, but with 2 salmon in your pockets. You are the lucky bouncy
First of all,
back.
it's lovely to see you.
Yeah.
And it's lovely to be back and to see all the old faces, most of whom were clapping when I left. Nice to see you all again. No, it's great, actually.
So, look, the first guest, as we now know, Donald Trump, is going to be the first one. But already we have conflicting accounts because you're saying that he stormed off, weirdly enough, and he's saying, no, I did not.
Well, we had a very heated debate.
You did.
About his repeated claim that he didn't lose the last election.
Right.
He says it was a rigged election, and he now says I have a rigged promo. All I would say is watch the interview. It'll all be there. We won't be doing any duplicitous editing. The president, I'm afraid, got very heated with me because he thinks that he should have won the last election. He's taken it very badly that he didn't, and he's concocted a story with no evidence so far that it was all fraudulent, that the voting system was fraudulent, and that he somehow had it stolen. I said to him, I don't believe that. I think you lost. And he didn't like that. So we had a very animated and heated discussion about it, which I think people will find fascinating.
Well, he says this morning, he says about you, Piers Morgan, like the rest of the fake news media,
I've always wanted them to call me that, actually.
attempted to unlawfully and deceitfully edit his long and tedious interview with me. He wants to make it look like I walked out on the interview and my time limit of 20 minutes went over by an hour.
Yeah.
He's calling you deceitful and
he
said
says
that
we've illegally edited an interview that hasn't aired. It's like, how do you know? We haven't aired it yet. No, it's ridiculous. I mean, he says in the same interview that it's long and tedious. I don't think he's tedious, just for the record. But he also says it's very strong. So he seems to be a bit confused about how he thinks the interview went. Here's what I think. I was supposed to have 20 minutes with him. Right. We had a very heated argument before we even got on air.
It wasn't looking like the interview was even going to go ahead.
Right, because somebody close to Nigel Farage, who works for a competitor, sent Mr. Trump a 3-page dossier of all the criticism I've made of him during the pandemic and after the election.
Because about half of your columns are pro and half are anti or criticising.
You and I have discussed this before. I always try and be fair about Trump. And I think, you know, I've tried to be more balanced probably than most journalists about it. People are either totally in the tank for him or totally in the tank against him. I've always tried to be somewhere in the middle. Sure. And this interview actually is a very good example because we got 70-odd minutes in the end, more compared to the 20 I was supposed to get. It's a riveting interview. It's fascinating. It's revealing. A lot of it is fun. We have some laughs about certain things. I agree with him about a number of things. And the bone of contention, which is what the promo's about, is simply when I get to this part of the interview, which I think is at the key of what is going on with Donald Trump. Because right now, he is the favourite to win the Republican nomination to run again. And with the performance of Joe Biden being so disastrous at the moment, you could see a situation where Trump might get re-elected. And the question is, there's a battle for the soul of the Republican Party. Is Donald Trump the right guy? If he refuses still to accept he lost the last free democratic election, should he be entitled to run again? That's what this is all about. And he's surrounded by a lot of people who keep telling him, you're right, Mr. President.
Of course.
It was stolen. I looked him straight in the eye, as you see in the promo, and said, I don't think you did.
And I don't think anybody's done that yet.
No, and
that's
he doesn't
really,
like it.
really interesting. The only thing is, though, there are repercussions because already this morning, just a couple of hours ago, Caitlyn Jenner, who was supposed to be on your show, has pulled out.
Well,
is it going to be like?
Going to come on because Trump talks about this whole issue that Boris Johnson addressed a couple of weeks ago.
Boris Johnson hid in a fridge. He won't come on either.
He will probably not be coming.
No, I don't think he will be.
He's still refrigerating. But Caitlyn Jenner's interesting because Caitlyn Jenner, I've interviewed her for Life Stories. I think she's a compelling character. She was going to come on later in the week to talk about a part of the interview where Trump supports Boris Johnson's view, which is my view, which is that trans athletes should not be competing against women born to female female biological bodies. And it's a raging debate, as we know, and people have strong views about it. But that's my view. It's Boris's view. Thought he was right to say what he did, and Trump concurs with that. But I thought we'd book Caitlyn Jenner, who also shares that view and is, of course, a supreme example of someone who was a gold medal decathlon winner in the Olympics as a man and has transitioned and is now very honest about the unfairness of trans athletes competing against women. So that was all set up, but she has now read the statement from Donald Trump saying that this is a rigged promo and called me repulsive and cancelled the interview, to which I'm like, this is a promo. Watch the interview.
Yeah.
And by the way, the promo reflects exactly what happened. Donald Trump got very angry about one particular thing and he couldn't let it go. But when people see the interview, they'll see that we have some nice exchanges. We always have done before. But simmering is this anger he was feeling about what was sent to him before we started the interview.
Sure.
I've written a big, long piece for The Sun today. I urge people to read it. It's all in context. You can see exactly how it all went down. But look, in the end, I said to my team last night, the only way this can get bigger is if I wake up in the morning to a personal statement from Donald J. Trump. 5 o'clock this morning, my phone rattled, and there it was.
But Piers, are you going to be in an echo chamber? I mean, you talked there about the trans issue, which I know you've talked about a lot. Surely you'll have the other side of the story as well. You're not just all going to be talking to people that agree with you. It sounded there like that was people that you're going to get just agreeing with you.
On that issue, I actually don't think I have the controversial view. I think I have the common sense view. I want my show to be about common sense, straight talking. I will
but
give
you know that a lot of people don't agree with
you say a lot of people. I actually think most people agree with me. I think most people understand you can support trans rights, as I do, to fairness and equality, right to the point it starts destroying women's rights. I can bet you, Lorraine, 95% of your audience, female-skewed audience, will be cheering me on as I say that. So this is not something where I have a contentious view. What's happened is we live in a society, and again, we've discussed this before, where if you raise your head over a parapet and you say these things, the woke brigade come for you and try and destroy you. I will have all views on my show. I don't come at things from a politically partisan view. You can hardly call me right-wing on a day the former President of the United States, a conservative Republican, has just hammered me for a promo. So, you know, I want to be fair to all sides. I don't want to be left or right. But I will give my strident views about this. Obviously, you know why I left Good Morning Britain. It was because... Do you
regret that, Piers? Do you regret the way it happened
I regret
the fact it happened?
Let me be clear. I only regret that ITV tried to make me apologise for something that I genuinely believed. I didn't believe most of what was coming out of Meghan Markle's mouth when she spoke to Oprah Winfrey, mainly because some of the things she was saying were immediately proven to be complete nonsense. She didn't have a secret marriage in the back garden of the Archbishop of Canterbury. If she had done, he'd have been arrested. It would have been against the law, and so on. So I didn't believe her then. I don't believe her as I sit here now, and I should be entitled to not believe her. You should be entitled to have your view. If you believe her, fine. I think most British people now share my view about Meghan Markle and indeed Prince Harry, whose behaviour continues to be utterly deplorable.
If you were having your show tonight, would you be talking about Prince Harry?
No
Meghan
question.
Markle?
I think this ludicrous statement that he's protecting the Queen in some way. Really, mate? All you've done is make the Queen's life a misery. You quit the country, you quit the British people, you're now proud of saying you live in America in a new life. Good luck to you. But you're the Duke and Duchess of Sussex still. Titles afforded to you by the Queen, by the monarchy. All you do is trash the royal family. You trash your brother, you trash your father, you trash the monarchy. And I'm sorry, but people are allowed to stand up for the royals. And I will continue standing up for the royals. I think they want to create a rival renegade royal family, the two of them, and their kids. And they're making hundreds of millions of dollars exploiting the royal titles from an institution they keep trashing. I don't think you can have your royal cake and eat it, and I'm going to say that very loudly on my show. Now, there will be people who come on my show who will say the complete opposite.
Absolutely.
As, by the way, when I left Good Morning Britain, Susanna Reid did, and everybody else did on the show.
That's why you didn't get...
There were about 10 people who disagreed with me.
Indeed.
And they're entitled to disagree with me. Everyone's allowed their opinion. But what state have we got to when, in my case, I was hired to host that show precisely because I have strong opinions?
But you had Susanna there, and that was why Ofcom ruled that everything was all right, because she actually
that wasn't the only reason they ruled it was all right. The last 3 paragraphs of the Ofcom ruling, go back and read them. They said it would have been in chilling infringement of my rights to free speech if I'd not been able to give an opinion. Chilling is their words, not mine. So I don't agree with that. And I think that we always had a balanced debate on Good Morning Britain. That's why it was so successful.
But you're not going to have a Susanna
On the last day,
night.
we finally got our highest ever ratings and beat the BBC. And I wasn't expecting a carriage clock, Lorraine, but I wasn't expecting to leave the building either. So I'm sorry I had to leave.
But you are back. You are here now.
I'm back.
You are here now.
It's lovely to be back here, but I didn't, just to be clear, I didn't want to leave. So it wasn't my choice to leave. I was just told, you've got to apologise or you have to leave. And I said, why would I apologise for something I believe? And I don't think anyone, by the way, should ever apologise for an honestly held opinion. Sharon Osbourne, who defended me that week, she issued 2 grovelling apologies in the days that followed after a furore on her show, The Talk in America, and she still got fired. If you give this cancel culture mob a bone, they'll take it and they'll still try and crush you. We've got to stand up.
You're not cancelled, though. That's the thing. People say that you're cancelled. You've got this massive show coming up. Sharon Osbourne's going to be in it.
I'm thrilled and excited about it, but I was cancelled from Good Morning Britain because I didn't want to leave and I was told you've got to apologise or leave. That is what cancel culture is. Sharon Osbourne was cancelled from her show simply for saying I had the right to an opinion. And I just think society's got to get a grip of this. We've got to get to a view where you and I have argued about so many things over the years, and yet we stay great friends. Yeah. Loyal friends. We help each other. We're loyal. We have fun together. But I've always respected your right to vehemently disagree with me about issues. We just did about the trans issue, for example, right? I respect your opinion. But we should be allowed to have different opinions. And this woke mob have decided only their opinions can be tolerated. And if you deviate one iota from it, then you will have to be destroyed. They're not liberal. They're a new form of fascist. And I'm not going to let them get away with it. So my show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, will be what it says on the tin. I'll be uncensored 4 nights a week on Talk TV, this exciting new network, and in America on Fox Nation, in Australia on Sky News Australia. And if you're watching this show right now and you want to hear strongly held opinions from a man you miss on Good Morning Britain, you know where to find me. Get on Sky, get on Freeview, get on Freesat, come and join the party.
You're fired up, you are.
Oh, I can't wait.
You are fired up.
I've had a year to wait for this.
But, Piers, there's not going to be somebody kind of at your side tempering you.
You think I need a TV wife? Are you pitching for the job?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely. Could you imagine there would be a divorce?
Actually, I have hosted shows with you, and it's been good, lively, robust stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we wind each other up, and we have good time. The truth is, I'll be hosting it myself, like I used to my CNN show, actually.
Of course, yeah.
So I'm used to that. But I will have a variety of regular people who will hold my views to account as well. I want all different types of views. I want to be challenged because I actually think in a democracy, you only get really to the real truth and you only evolve as a society if people agree, disagree, have a debate and reach points of consensus. That's what we used to do. Now we've gone back to the tribal age of 2,000 years ago, where if you find someone who doesn't agree with you, you want to kill them. It's ridiculous.
I absolutely hear what you're saying.
I know you agree with me, really.
Well, I agree with you on some things, and in some things I vehemently disagree with you, but that's OK.
But most things we agree about, actually, because I'm not right-wing, some people try and categorise me. I'm actually a fairly frustrated liberal who doesn't...
Is it not quite a right-wing channel that you're going to be on, though, when you look at your co-hosts?
Talk TV? No, not at all. Look at the prime-time lineup. No, Sharon Osbourne's not right-wing. You know, I mean, 8 and 9 o'clock are not going to be hosted by right-wing or conservative people. But what I won't do is deplatform and cancel people for being conservatives. A lot of this country are conservatives and consider themselves to be right on the political thing. That's fine. There's no problem with being conservative, no problem with being on the left. The only problem is you've got extremists on both sides creating so much toxic noise and creating a situation where no one can have debate. Universities now, no platforming anyone that doesn't agree with the narrow, woke view of the world. It's nuts. Students should be getting all views and then make their own minds up. That's how they become proper adults. And yet we're allowing this nonsense to happen. Comedians getting cancelled left, right and centre for cracking jokes. Yeah. It's bonkers.
Well, look, how long do you think it's going to be before they give you the elbow? Because you've been sacked from every job.
My track record is normally about 5 years. It's normally about 5 years, and then Piers, here's a big cheque, go and lie on a beach for a few months. I recommend it. Honestly, I've had nearly 2 years of people paying me to do nothing. It's fantastic. So, you know, the thing I don't miss about Good Morning Britain, to be serious for a moment, is the early starts. And my wife, Celia in particular, is thrilled that I don't forget to do my second alarm, and it goes off and wakes her up 3 times in the night. But I did have a great time here. I don't want to create a wrong impression. I had a lovely time at ITV. I worked here many years doing life stories and other shows, and particularly Good Morning Britain. Loved working with Susanna. You know, it was a weird thing. We had this kind of arranged marriage where you get put with someone you don't really know, and we sort of fired off each other. Then we really understood each other. And just at the moment the marriage was really flourishing, we have to suddenly get divorced.
Yeah, but it was your fault, though, because you walked out.
No, it wasn't my fault.
If you hadn't walked out, then it wouldn't have happened.
I didn't walk out.
You did?
No.
We saw there's video evidence.
Play the video of me storming back in. I went back in that day.
That doesn't count.
Well, I had a little timeout because I wasn't too sure how I would respond if I stayed sitting there listening to that idiot giving me his 2 pennies worth. So I did walk back in, and I did finish that show. And then I was presented with a fait accompli, and I chose not to apologise and to leave. But I did have a great time. I did love Good Morning Britain. I loved trebling the ratings. I loved all the noise and fun we had. And I'm looking forward to having the same success on my new show.
Well, we will see Piers Morgan Uncensored on Monday at 8 o'clock on Talk TV.
You'll be watching, won't you?
You can toddle off now. You don't need to.
I'm storming off!
He's storming off! Again! He can't help himself! He can't help himself. Mark is here after the break. Don't forget, you can watch full episodes of Lorraine on the ITV Hub and all the best clips, compilations and playlists right here on our channel. Just subscribe now and you'll never miss an upload. Click here to watch another video similar to this one, or click here to head to our channel's homepage to explore all of our exciting videos.